Want to know what the movers and shakers of New Hampshire's performing arts are thinking? Welcome to New Hampshire Unscripted with your host, Ray Dudley.
Baby Jesus on the camera. Yeah. Two good-looking guys.
That's
I don't
right.
need that.
Good morning, all. All right.
Welcome to the lair.
Take my glasses on so I can actually see.
Were these all written by local?
A mixture. Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Get into our publishing arm of New World Theater at some point.
Yeah. Excellent. So Billy, on up to the microphone there.
All right. Any position? Any?
About this far, I
Okay.
guess is good enough.
All right.
Well, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
This is quite an honor.
Well,
You got quite a crew coming through here.
yeah, it's pretty diverse.
It's quite the.
Well, you're long
Who's
overdue. You're long overdue.
Thank you.
So, do you want to get into the main topic, or do you want to kind of talk about New World Theater in general and then move into what?
And the main topic being.
You said you had something to reveal.
Oh yeah, no, I guess want to bury the lead at this point, but I think we can kind of put that off a little bit, a little teaser.
Okay.
Some big news, but
An exclusive.
exclusive, yes, revealed here first on
Yes.
New Hampshire Unscripted.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into let's go back and talk
Sure.
about your love for writing.
Yeah.
And where that comes from. Is that a family thing? Or?
Oh gosh, yeah. I attribute that to my father, who was a minister, so a very orator, in his.
Was that a local minister? Somebody who
it was in
from-
Virginia. I
Okay.
actually
Oh.
grew up in Virginia.
Oh.
He was a pastor in the United Methodist Conference of Virginia, and moved around quite a bit growing up. But yeah, he could spin stories off the top of his head like nobody in there. But I mean, campfire.
Good pastor can.
Campfire ghost stories. I mean, we just sat there riveted for hours listening to him just kind of spin off his, mysteries and whatnot. So yeah, from a young age, I often say, before I could even read or write, I would put paper in the typewriter and just start hitting keys, like I was writing something.
Oh, that's cool.
And I just had this feeling like I just wanted to write, like make a story. So I'd be making stories in my head, of course, make gibberish on the paper. But yeah, from an early age, I can just remember my father's typewriter being a big fascination, of course.
So do you think basically that it was your affection for how the people reacted to his stories that enticed you?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And how I reacted myself, just being riveted by it. And he would often, big reader to us at night. He would pull out the Narnia series and Tolkien and, all those sort of great fantasy series of those in the
Funny how they
60s.
get so ingrained at an early age like that, right?
Yeah, and just enjoyed the written word, as it were, and how it could just take you anywhere, and as you're sitting there.
So after you were a monkey at the keyboard thing where
Right.
you didn't write anything,
That's right.
Where did you go for that? How did
A thousand monkeys.
That's right.
Gosh, Okay, so yeah.
College? Were you writing in college or high school?
No, my first story was how the world became round when I was like 7 or so, and I can kind of remember all my little ventures. But my first playwriting was actually in high school, where I wrote a play for a class. It was sort of open writing kind of thing, and this idea came to me about who was it? The guy that wrote Pogo. Do you remember that? I Go Pogo.
I don't know Pogo.
Yeah. Anyway, I heard an interview with his wife once saying that he often said, "God isn't dead; he's just unemployed." So I just got this idea of, having God show up in an unemployment office.
Oh, that's unique. That's pretty cool.
And so I wrote it and handed it in, and the English teacher said, I want to talk to you after class. I'm like, well, great, you just really like it. Like, he goes, Don, you can't plagiarize things and turn them in as your own. I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is my own. And she just didn't believe me,
No kidding.
It was that good, I was like, oh, thank you.
Okay, that's kind of a left-handed compliment.
Yeah, left-handed compliment, but so I took it, and and it's funny because I look back at it, and then 2006, I decided to start writing plays, and I remembered that. I'm like, boy, I should have taken that up as a clue back in high school.
Right.
That maybe I had something there. But yeah, in 2006, I don't know, I just kind of got back into writing. Prior to that, actually, my college years, you asked me about my college years, I was actually a classical guitar major in college. I have a degree in classical guitar performance.
Really?
In music, yes. Entered the Shenandoah Conservatory in 79. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 79. It's been, how many years is that? That's,
too many.
Yeah, right. But actually, as a composition major originally, with classical guitar as my major instrument. But then I switched over to performance and graduated in '83 with a degree in performance from Crane School of Music, Potsdam, New York. So yeah, I had music and stuff, and I go back because my brother was a big musician, and still is actually, and he was doing things in New York City for a while. As his group, he didn't appear, but his group appeared on the Smothers Brothers show.
I love the Smothers Brothers.
And
Tommy and Dickie.
And okay, side story. So his song he wrote is actually attributed as taking the Smothers Brothers off the air.
What?
Yes.
But why?
There's a YouTube video if you want to look it up.
I do.
So he wrote a song called Anthem about, and it was the tune was the national anthem played backwards. And the song was I'm Going to Prison for What I Believe. And it was about being a conscientious objector to the Vietnam War back in the 60s. And it was banned in Ohio. And
the song was?
Yeah, the song is banned in Ohio. And the Smothers Brothers, my brother was actually in the process of being prosecuted as a conscientious objector, and then he actually ended up spending a year in prison as a conscientious objector.
No kidding.
So he wasn't with the group when they performed on the Smothers Brothers show. But the day after they performed the song Anthem, which again was an anti-war song, and about, not going to war, but being a conscientious objector, the word is that Nixon called up the president of CBS and told him to take him off the air.
Wow.
Because you remember that show just went off the air like that.
Yeah.
It was a huge hit.
I
Everyone loved
it. It was so funny.
And then it was canceled. It was canceled the day after his song was performed.
That's fascinating.
So, sorry, guys.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
That's a great tidbit.
Yeah. So a little family history there. So his love of music and my dad's love of storytelling, I just kind of got, caught up in both of them. And so I really enjoyed music, pursued music pretty, getting through college and whatnot. And then, got in the theater back in the 90s for the first time. Actually kind of in a musical vein, performing in Pirates as a pirate, Pirates of Penzance. My wife was performing Mabel, and so they needed pirates. This is 95, and down in Derry, New Hampshire, an old company used to be around called Opera Fest, produced a production there. Actually, it was one of the first productions back in the old Derry Opera House when they were sort of bringing it back as a actual venue back in the 90s. And I loved it. I just had such a ball, and being, count like tread upon the praise steeple. It was a gas. So I just started kind of, auditioning and doing different stuff.
So there was a gap there between your graduation and then the 90s.
Yeah.
Coming down there, you didn't pursue either music or writing.
Yeah,
during
I was
that time?
working, had a family,
Life kinda
2
kicked in.
kids, dog, kind of thing.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I was kind of pursuing different creative things, but it wasn't like got kind of this theater bug in me once I got on stage.
So, but not the writing bug at the time, right? Just acting?
Just acting,
Okay.
just acting. And then did some directing, and like all of us, we've all worn many hats, and doing different things, producing and whatnot. And then I was in a show in, it was Christmas of 2006. I was cast as Bob Cratchit against this lovely young lady, 20 years my junior, as Mrs. Cratchit. And I just loved the, sort of the mismatch of the whole thing. And it just seemed, comical, and often in community theater, you have these mismatches of things going on stage. And I just this play just came to me, and the title "Scene Changes" came to me, and it was really kind of just an episodic. It ended up with 7 scenes. It's just sort of episodic moments throughout a production, from like first rehearsal to a cast party kind of thing, and it was a lot of fun. It wasn't very good. My first attempt at it.
Was it a full play, full act? Full
It was kind of a full play. 7 scenes and whatnot. But just got the bug kind of going. I really kind of enjoyed it, and so I pursued some writing courses, some playwriting courses. Worked with some dramaturgs in New York City, and just sort of just kept at it for a while. And,
so for anybody who doesn't understand the term, can you define dramaturg?
Dramaturg. Okay, so dramaturg is someone you take your script to, and they're often a playwright themselves, so they know a good bit of what's involved in this craft. Though they don't have to be. They could be someone. Actually, there's degrees in dramaturgy now, where you can get a degree in sort of pulling apart a script and just kind of looking at what I call the beats of the play, and seeing in the Aristotle kind of analysis, poetics, is there strong action throughout the play? Is there central action, that is presented from the beginning, that has an arc through the play? Are there sub-actions throughout the play that have events? And the event is when either the action, the person, what they're pursuing, they get, or they don't get, or another interesting resolution is they decide, it really wasn't that important after all. They come to a realization, a higher realization of what they wanted, or what they thought they wanted. So that's kind of what a dramaturg does. They look at the structure of the piece and really pull it apart and try to figure out, does it have a clear dramatic structure? You can write, and that's, in my early plays, in the first play I was talking about, dialogue goes on and on and on and on and on and on. But there's no action being pressed forward, nothing really being pursued, other than interesting dialogue.
So this is a little bit different than say vetting your play, where just other people read it and say, okay, you need a comma here,
Yeah, definitely. It's
much deeper.
Oh yeah, definitely deeper. And looking for inconsistencies, where as you're writing plays, you write something in one scene and you write something in another scene, you go back and go, yeah, those are kind of inconsistent. They don't really match. So you got to kind of clear up the inconsistencies. And so,
well, I guess sometimes you wouldn't see that because you're too close to the piece.
Well, you're too close to the piece, or you just you forgot. You're just kind of writing.
Yeah.
You're just kind of as I say, spewing it out into the keyboard, and sometimes you just kind of forget. Oh yeah, I wrote that back here. I got to kind of clean that up here. So this is all about rewriting. and getting the piece to kind of gel overall. So yeah, it's interesting work. And another thing a dramaturg does, if it's a historic piece, they look at the history, see if it matches, the historic period that you're kind of trying to fit. If it's a particular place, if the names and things like that. So they kind of vet it, as far as those kinds of things as well. So there's, definitely interesting role that dramaturgs play. And I've actually been working with one recently on the big news play we're going to talk about coming up.
In our next segment.
Stay tuned.
So you were writing, and this is still your early years.
Mm-hmm.
Anything come out of that you...
Yeah, so again, it's just one of these things, you keep pushing the stone up the hill kind of thing.
Good analogy.
Yeah, I kind of worked at, finding groups. I joined a group in near Boston called the Playwrights Platform that does an annual festival at the Boston Playwrights Theater at BU. So I kind of, joined them in 2009. It was fall of 2008. And then had a play of mine produced in their festival the following spring, 2009. And they were sponsored by Hoyer Publishing, the festival was. And after the festival, one of the playwrights said, I'm not sure they like my play. And she said, you should just, go ahead and submit it to Hoyer and see what they say. And so I submitted it, and practically, it wasn't more than a day or two, I got a call from the president saying, I really like this. I want to publish it.
Really?
You got anything else? Yeah. So.
Well, that's prestigious.
So yeah, that was very good. It's called Void. The first production was again at the Boston Playwrights Theater, starring our good friend Toby Paul.
Oh yeah.
And Eric Broderick and Meredith. Oh gosh, her name. Last name's forgetting. Sorry, Meredith. It's been so long. And directed by John Safel. Good friend of mine.
And where was this performed?
Boston Playwrights Theater.
It was?
Yeah, right there at BU.
Okay.
It's their, it's the theater used for their MFA program, playwriting program. But the platform had sort of, the platform, at one point, I actually produced their 40th anniversary festival. Yeah, they've been going on since the 60s and so yeah, they've been their kind of established sort of annual festival there, which was kind of neat. So I participated in a number of those, and I produced 2 of them for them. And so yeah, that was and it was short plays. These are like 10-minute, 15-minute plays at most. Festival, different works.
So that was your first published piece, The Void?
It was Void, and as I said, he asked for more. I sent him 2 more, and he published those. And those pieces actually had never been performed. I had just written them, but they really liked them. One called School Portrait Monologues, and another one, Genesis. So yeah, those are 3 works I have. Actually, I have 4 works now published by Hoyer. Fishbowl, which, getting into the following year, I sent a piece off to a theater in New York, the Manhattan Repertory Theater. And they were going up with this was like Saturday night, I think. I sent it in. The guy calls me and says, yeah, I really like it. Can you have it up by next week?
Seriously?
It's a short play, 20 minutes, about 20-minute piece. I'm going, yeah, why not? So I'm trying to think of the timeline here, because I went to my boss and said I need to take the week off. I had my son, who was in New York, going to Manhattan School of Music, had some friends that he knew who were actors, 2 of which kind of fit into the 2 male roles. Then we found a female who was fantastic, really, fast, off-book kind of person. So it's 3 characters, and we rehearsed it at the 7th Avenue Studios. There's a studio there on 7th Avenue for like $60 an hour. You can kind of, rent it and beautiful spaces. In fact, one day we were there, and the guy says, Judy Garland's across the hall, so, just keep it down.
Really?
Yeah. So she was rehearsing something there.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Judy Garland.
Judy Garland. So yeah, not Judy Garland. I'm sorry.
Had she died by then?
Yeah, no. Yeah. People are going to be really like, hold on here.
He doesn't know what he's talking
about. Gosh, help me. Sound of Music.
Julie Andrews?
Julie Andrews. Thank you. I knew it was a Julie something.
Yeah.
Boy, my mind's totally.
It's early.
It's early. This is my coffee.
Yes.
Where's my coffee?
Where is your coffee? You had your coffee with you.
So yeah, it was great. We met every day for that week, to rehearse it and get it up for the show at the Manhattan Repertory Theater. Ran that weekend.
How was the attendance?
It was anywhere between 20, 30. It was a really small theater.
That's not bad for something no one had ever seen.
It was maybe 50 seats. And again, this was a sort of a festival of short plays. Mine was like 20 minutes. They had some other plays. So it wasn't just my play going on. It was a festival of short things. But it was really good. It was a great experience, to kind of just jump in there and just do it.
And you have to say it was performed in New York.
And yeah, you can say it performed in New York and right on 42nd Street.
That's great.
Right there, right off Times Square, little theater there. And just passed by there recently. I was down in the city. I was like, oh yeah, they've moved to another spot now, but I was kind of remembering that little spot there. And probably one of my best compliments came from that. I was outside the theater chatting with the actors and whatnot. It may have been like after the last performance, and probably just trying to decide where to go afterwards and stuff. And someone mentioned that I had written the play Fishbowl that was presented, and this guy comes over to me and goes, "Thank you for giving me a reason to go to the theater."
Oh.
I was like,
oh.
all right. I'll take it.
Well, yeah.
It's just, nobody, I didn't know the guy, but he just he was just, wow. He was just like, really appreciative of the whole thing. And I was like, you're welcome.
Nice.
Yeah,
really nice.
It was nice feeling. So yeah, that's, and again, not long after that, I sent it off to Hoyer and they published it. So yeah, just lots of things, and then.
So where does New World Theater come from?
Well, that's a good question. Where does that come from?
I'm hoping you have the answer, because I don't.
Oh, okay, all right. One of us got to know what's going on here. So yeah, that you've heard of the Dramatists Guild, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a member of the Dramatists Guild. And not too long ago, they had their first national convention in Virginia. And I didn't go, but they nicely put up the...
Go ahead. I was just going to say, if you get a chance, explain to people who may not know who the Dramatists Guild is.
Oh, the Dramatists Guild. Okay, so playwrights are a member of a guild as opposed to a member of a union. You have the Writers' Union, the Screenwriters' Union, and whatnot. A guild is different. In a guild, you maintain control of your creative output. You don't sell it, you license it. Whereas in a union, you're an employee, and what you write is owned by the people that employ you. Okay, so that's the difference of the guild. The guild basically stands for retaining all your rights to the piece. Even though you may have it published by somebody and they license it for you, through their publishing and negotiate
like French or something.
Yeah, like French, and Hoyer licenses my plays. You still own it. And interesting fact, a playwright has first right of refusal to direct.
What?
Yeah. I was listening to Albee one time, and he was talking about how some high school was going to do Virginia Woolf or something, and he decided, you know what, I want to direct that. And so he showed up and directed it.
What?
And you can do that as a playwright. If someone decides to do your play, you can show up and say, I'm going to direct it. Or if you don't like the director, you can say, no, they can't direct my play. Again, there's incredible... people don't know this, but playwrights have full control. They have control over casting.
Really?
Yeah. They can say, no, that person is not representing my work, and whatever. So yeah, there's quite a bit of power that playwrights.
I had no idea.
have.
I thought you handed off and it's out there for anyone.
Oh, it is. I mean, it is, and they, people license it, and right. Do playwrights exercise these powers? Generally not.
Mm-hmm.
But they are there, and they're backed up by the guild. As a guild member, if you decide to do that, and they push back, the guild will step in and kind of put the power of the guild behind it.
That's a good function for a group to have.
It is, and it's primarily to protect you for your creative output again and what you're doing, and it's unique in that regards. Again, you're never selling your work. Unlike artists, who sell their work, or performers who sell their performances, So yeah, it's kind of an interesting dynamic there.
That whole world of IP, intellectual property rights, is fascinating.
It is, yeah.
There's a lot of controversy over people stealing stuff.
Right, yeah. And actually, I was down in New York this past summer for a producers workshop held by True. It's Theater Resources Unlimited organization down there that helps people produce their works and whatnot, and find the resources they need. They're saying that, the Dramatists Guild says all this stuff, but then the directors, is it a Directors Guild? I can't remember. It's a Directors Union. I don't know. But anyway, they say the total opposite. No, playwright doesn't have right. So there's a bit of controversy between the groups. Contention between who really holds the power here. Anyway.
Someday they'll duke it out.
That's right.
So I'm sorry I interrupted you.
So where was
you? Joined the Dramatists Guild.
Yeah, I joined the Dramatists Guild. So the Dramatists Guild held this conference in Virginia, and the keynote speaker was Molly Smith of Arena Stage. And again, I didn't attend, but they put it up online so you could hear the different segments of it. And so I was listening to the keynote, and she mentioned that Arena Stage is very big on new work development. They have an actual series where they have fellowships for playwrights. They pay them like $70,000 a year and give them housing, and it's a big deal there, and really try to give them the space and the time to do their work. So she's up there talking, and the thing that stuck in my mind is she says it takes 3 performances before a work is finished.
3 performances, not just 3 readings.
3, exactly. That's what stuck with me. She didn't say, readings or 3 rewrites or 3 performances before a work is finished. And it kind of got me thinking that, okay, so I can sit here and write, I can sit here and have readings and maybe a workshop production of, kind of script in hand and a little more than just a reading, but it's not really going to be done until you've actually put it on stage. So this is where New World Theater comes in, where I decided, you know what, and this is where I would say a good number of playwrights are going, just deciding, you know what, I just got to produce this thing, to really put it through its paces, really see what's working and what isn't working, and just figure out, the mechanics of it, because it's a collaborative art form that we're doing here.
Right.
It's not just the writer sitting in a room writing. It's got to be put on its feet. You got to have designers, you got to have lighting and all this stuff, sets, props. Props are huge. As an actor, props are just huge.
Yeah.
And it just informs so many different things. Probably one of my biggest, I think one of my successes was because of a prop, a tablecloth.
Really?
Yes.
Something so mundane.
So mundane, but it became such a central part of the play that it just wouldn't be there if it wasn't. The play just, it just works so well there's just so many elements that, again, you just can't get sitting in a room writing. So this is in 2015. I produced my play Scene Changes, which by the time I wrote it in 2006 to 2015, it totally changed. Gone from 7 scenes to 3, to the suggestion of a dramaturg. I flipped it. I had originally had the older gentleman playing Bob Cratchit, younger woman playing Mrs. Cratchit, and I flipped it. So I have the older person playing Mrs. Cratchit, and a younger guy playing Bob Cratchit, and it works so much better. It was like one of the biggest suggestions I've ever gotten.
Okay, can you stop it for a minute and just tell us why? Why did it work better? What was happening in that dynamic?
Well, I think for one thing, there's a bit of the older gentleman, younger woman kind of thing is a little hard to pull off now. I mean, it was kind of something that you see in Educating Rita is the only thing that comes to mind. But certain things like that where you have this sort of older male, younger female thing, and I think it just has just laden with connotations that just aren't working today.
Got you.
It's kind of like Pretty Woman. The movie Pretty Woman, which they made into a musical.
Yeah, Richard Gere.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody and I said, they couldn't make Pretty Woman today.
Mm-hmm.
And then I swear, it was like the next week I heard they're turning it into a musical. I'm like, no, you can't do that. I was like, why did I put that into the universe?
Do not play the lottery, Donald. You're not going to do it.
So yeah, it just flipping that dynamic just really worked well. And I can get into a lot of other things about it, but
That's okay. That's all right.
But actually producing that play at the Hatbox next August.
You are?
Yeah, it'll be my second production of it.
All right, getting close to 3.
Yeah, getting close to 3. Done some rewrites and really feeling good about it. So yeah, that's where I started in 2015. Great group, the Letty Center and Mike Gatchell and Bruce. Worked with them for a number of years and doing different shows out there and stuff. And I gave her the script of Scene Changes, and I said, you're kind of quiet in January, maybe we could put this on out there. And she read it, she loved it. She said, bring it. So I was able to actually produce. They pretty much had produced all their stuff. It was just them. But she gave me this space and sort of time slot, end of January, February, to produce the work. And so it was really a gift.
This was in its newest iteration?
Yes, it was in its newest iteration, yeah. And it hasn't really changed much since that production, but I've done definitely some reworking of things. So it's hard as a playwright. You just trying to put it down sometimes, but it's like, don't read it. You're just going to change something. You are. But that's the fun too, just kind of always seeing new things that you can bring out. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning of New World Theater. I just decided, to start producing my own stuff, and started working with some other playwrights. Let's see.
So can I stop you there for a second? You said you wanted to start producing your own stuff. Did you have a slate of things that you had written that you were hoping to get into production, or were you thinking, I want to start writing? This would be an impetus to start creating.
I had some fair drafts. I think Scene Changes is probably the most well developed and ready to go as far as a production. I had some other things that needed work before getting to that point. So this is 2015, and as we're finishing up Scene Changes, I get this brainstorm. I'm like, okay, so the presidential season is coming up, election season, primary season, in 2016, the following year, and I just started riffing on the idea of two primary candidates from the two major parties, and wrote this play called Candid, Candidate. It went up in January of 2016 at the Lady Center. And it was the first thing I'd kind of sat down and thought, okay, what's the climate? What's happening in the universe? What can I write that would kind of fit what's going on? Mm-hmm. And I kept it totally, there's no mention of political parties in the play. There's no mention, there's a bit of references to candidates and stuff in the real world, but it's pretty in its own world, but kind of spoofing the whole, what goes into political campaigns nowadays. What the pretzel logic that candidates have to go through to figure out how to get to the end goal.
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh, I'm in the primaries, I can say this, but when I get to here, I can say this. It's like So it's this whole thing of just playing the public. So you have the one candidate who's playing the typical outsider, the no BS candidate, Bob Roberts. And he's just the total against the establishment, candidate, rah. And the other one is totally pandering and trying to figure out, which way the public's going, and, making sure he's not saying the
finger in the
wrong
air.
thing. Yeah, finger in the air. As his wife says, she's known weather vanes that hold a steadier course than him. So this all happens, and then, so who's the candid candidate? And that's what comes out in the piece, that one of the candidate's wives, who just can't help but speak her mind, ends up jumping into the race against her husband.
Interesting.
And the other candidate's wife supports her. And so they end up, kind of leading this campaign, and then the husbands decide, well, we're going to join forces, and so they, so it becomes, the two wives and two husbands, and so it's about a lot of things. It's about women empowerment, it's about, seeing women in roles of power and leadership, and, trying to, knock that down. In one of the candidates' husbands, I see, while he's not necessarily sexist, there's latent sexism there that just, it just comes. We all have,
right.
These things that we just kind of have these. When we start to dig into them, we say, yeah, I guess I am a kind of little, or what I said was a little prejudiced, kind of thing,
Yeah.
And so it kind of points those things out. It points out the unhelpful role the media plays in the whole mess of, focusing on the gotchas. Oh, look at him, he's riding around in a tank with a helmet, or he's trying to snowboard, or, whatever, or he gets really excited in Iowa and just goes, yeehaw, and just like...
all those candidates, I think.
Yeah, so, it's just all those things that the media just, it's like unimportant, but they just, So yeah, it kind of it's a fun little piece, and so that was my second piece I put out there.
And has it only been done once?
It was done at the Letty Center in January, and then I reworked it and actually produced it at the Hatbox in their first season in 2016. So yeah, it kind of got a nice development process at 1 year.
So if it gets performed one more time, it's good?
Yeah, right. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then I started working with a collective of playwrights. Formed that in, somewhere, I guess probably about 2016, 2017. Started working with some other playwrights, just as a group to kind of bounce things off of each other and talk about our plays and what we're working on. And give some, we call it peer reviews and whatnot, and then started doing some readings, private readings of things. And that's where probably New World Theater really started to gel as sort of, a group that's going to start developing new works and really be a place for playwrights to come and work together in this collaborative process of the writing part of it. Held a master class in 2018 with playwrights from 3 in California, 1 in Toronto, a couple here in the Northeast, and met online for 10 weeks, and then held a master class at the Hat Box with my key dramaturg I work with, Stuart Spencer, teaches at Sarah Lawrence University, and that was really great. And actually, the book that we just published this summer, Unparalleled, are the 8 works from that masterclass series. So there we go, the book, Unparalleled, now available on Amazon. So yeah, I did the master class. We then did a monologue submission to create a series of monologues called A Solitary Voice, 18 monologues. And these are not audition monologues.
Why? What's the difference, and why would they not be?
They are performance monologues to be performed. Primarily just because they're too long. Most of them are. Some might be audition length, but most of them are. I have one mine in there. It's like about 6 minutes. At least. You're looking at a 6-minute monologue.
Yeah, they don't give you 6 minutes.
No, they don't give you 6 minutes. So, and like to, I haven't had a chance. We pitched it at the Hat Box of doing this complete set of monologues as a performance, as a production. Yeah. Thought it would be fun. And
not to be confused with the vagina monologues.
Correct.
Got you.
Yes.
Got you. Just want to make that clear.
Right.
So this would. So do you think this would work as an evening of entertainment? Yeah.
I think it would. I think it would be very interesting. They're very diverse, very, quite a different number of voices and situations being presented throughout, and I think it could be very interesting to present it. Definitely challenging. But it comes down to a light and an actor, kind of situation. Yeah. Obviously some props probably, throughout, but it's just putting it down to its barest elements.
How many are in here?
18. 18, yeah. And didn't really have any idea how many we were going to include, but it just kind of felt we kind of settled on these 18 as being...
So are there more that you culled these 18 from? Or
we had, I think, over 50
seriously?
Submissions for that. Not an easy process to whittle them down, but...
Well, you could always have volume 2.
Yeah, that's right. That's what. Actually, I'm thinking of that. Yeah, looking at.
Good for you.
Doing some more of that. So yeah, we got publishing. We got the Solitary Voice, Unparalleled, and our first anthology of works was called It's Academic, which is a set of 4 short works around different academic situations and scenarios. And 2 of those were from the gentleman who I started the collective with, the Playwrights Collective with, Bill Ivers and Walter Friedman. Both wrote short works. They're both actually high school English teachers, so that's what they kind of came up with the idea of having a theme about academia for the first collection. And then we reached out for other people to submit and got a play from Jack Neary that's included in that. And another playwright from Boston, John Minigan, so.
Dude, you are on a roll.
So yeah, had that as our first publication, and we produced that last summer at the Hat Box as a evening of theater, those 4 short works. And it worked really well. It was a good production. The pieces really actually worked pretty well together as a collection in one evening. So it was a lot of fun.
It has to be tougher to put together a collection as opposed to one play.
You mean as far as producing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You had the professor, college. I think some of the settings, as long as you have a door and a a desk, right? One was in the classrooms. We had to have student desks, but fortunately these guys are teachers, so they were able to bring in the desks from school and use them. Yeah, I think having it around a central theme helps, if you're going to do that, so that the settings kind of are similar.
Are you getting good attendance? Are people intrigued? Are they... I know you don't depend on it because of the nature of the beast, but...
Right.
I'm just curious if are people starting to warm up to seeing things that they don't know anything about, seeing things that are under construction. How are you finding that to be?
That's a tough nut to crack. And it's not bad. We certainly have had our ups and downs as far as what the audiences have been. But it's not easy. It's a even on Broadway, it's a tough sell to bring in unknown work with no star. If you don't have a star attached to it, you're like,
That's why they attach stars to them.
Yeah, right. That's why they attach stars to them, right? So you can actually Bryan Cranston, and Bryan Cranston. So yeah, it's not easy, but you run your theater company, Square Pegs. You have your mission. I'm going to turn the tables. What's your mission for Square Pegs?
Ours is to produce quality, unique things, maybe that have not seen the public, been seen publicly, or that we think are very unique in their genre, in their whatever. And so kind of like this, it's a very segmented market. Because we don't, for the most part, do anything that is very well known. That's why we did Theophilus North, we did True.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I'd seen Theophilus North.
Oh, it was great. You would have loved it.
Myself.
Nah, it's all right. It's all right. So like you, it falls under that same kind of an umbrella.
Yeah.
You would love for a large audience to see them, especially when they're done well, but you kind of know you're not gonna.
Right.
They're not gonna. There's no line waiting when you show up.
Right. It's not Annie. It's not.
Right.
A Christmas Carol.
Right. No offense, Scott. No offense to anybody else. But yeah, no, you're right.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And at least you're doing things by people who have had their productions, may not here, but they've been produced. You did. What was the one you did? The Hatbox.
We did God of Carnage.
God of Carnage, right? That was done on Broadway, and had some good reviews, and there was a movie made of it.
Right.
And so it's not totally unknown.
Correct.
But
correct.
Yeah, still trying to get people through the door for theater that they have no prior knowledge of.
And in your case, it's not just a matter of putting a show up and being happy with that. You actually, I don't want to say need, but it's nice to get feedback. Your stuff is so innovative, so fresh, that you almost have to have some kind of honest input from the people who do show up and see it.
Right.
You hope.
Right. Yeah, and you have to be, honest yourself. You have to, take your blinders off and really examine what's going on, and is this working? And is this really hitting the marks?
That has to be tough too.
And
to stand back from your own work. And
it is, and it often takes 10 time, to just kind of step away from it for a while and then come back to it, and then you kind of go, oh, yeah. Now I see. That beat just,
Yeah. Honestly, I don't have that gene in me that allows me to put something out there. It's fine. Like as an actor, you do that, but
right.
But to put something out there and know it's not finished. And you need the honesty of people, friends, peers, to kind of nudge you along the way, or be brutally honest, depending on what they are, but so that you can change it up, so you can rework it and make it better. Mm-hmm. I'm too fragile,
and you've got to be open to that too.
That's my point. I couldn't do
that's,
that.
One of the things. I like the group of playwrights we work with because they all are very open to constructive criticism. And open to someone saying that really isn't working, but not necessarily taking every suggestion as gospel. No,
right.
That's the other thing you got to do. You got to kind of somebody will say something and you got to kind of think about it and
because you can't take everyone, because you'll go crazy.
Oh, right. You can't satisfy everybody.
Right.
Right. Everybody's going to have some sort of perspective. They're bringing, everyone's got their own filters that they're putting their stuff through, and so
that's why there's vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice.
Exactly. So yeah, it's tough. Yeah. So sometimes, you're putting stuff out there that is maybe not clicking on all cylinders just yet, but it's getting close. You're getting that engine tuned, as it were, to get it ready to really hum along. So
let me ask you, if you don't mind me stopping here for a second.
Yep.
What is the ultimate goal for yourself? I guess maybe the answer differs for playwrights. Mm-hmm. Are you hoping to have a play that goes to Broadway? Or ultimately gets that type of recognition, or are you satisfied with just freeing it out into the world? You've unencumbered your soul with this work, and you're very proud of it now, and you can let it go. What, as a playwright, what's your goal there?
Funny you should ask that. It's almost like you set me up here. So, this coming season, we're kind of, actually 2019 is the first year since 2015 I haven't actually produced a production. Oh. I'm just realizing this, first calendar year in a while that I haven't. We've been doing these workshop productions at the Hatbox,
right,
where we take somebody's work and put it on its feet, script in hand, minimal blocking, minimal sets, minimal props, just to get a feel for how it's working. And we did that, and they had us scheduled for every other month. This year we're only doing 4, just because it's
too much.
It was too much, And my feeling is, you can do the stage readings, with the music stands and have somebody read directions, but it just doesn't make the connection quite as well as really just trying to, see how it works on its feet. Even though the actors are stumbling around with the scripts in their hand, it gives you a sense of what can be, where this can go. So, but that obviously takes a little more than just sitting behind music stands and reading the play. Right. So that's been kind of a big, I wouldn't say a heavy lift, but it's been a lift to kind of get those ready this year. So it's, while we haven't done a full production, I think we've done sort of mini half productions throughout the year. So this year, I have seen changes next summer, but we have some really good plays in the works that I'm excited about, and we're hoping to put them out there in the festival universe for New York. New York has a number of festival ways, putting your work in the festival in New York City. One is called Broadway Bound. It's sort of a new one that I forget how many plays they do. It's still pretty new, but they do it in August each year. So we're hoping to submit those for that festival and see what happens. I've been actually, since we're coming into another presidential campaign season, in case anybody missed it.
The pain.
That's right. I know. Breaking news. And something, candid candidate. It should be, something that some theaters might be interested in. So I submitted, kind of putting it out there, and I sent it to a producer in New York who. I didn't meet her this summer. As mentioned, I went to a producer's workshop in New York City, but through that connection, I came across this producer, and I sent her Candid Candidate, and a week later, got back together with her, and she goes, I want to do an off-Broadway production of this.
New York.
And I'm like, okay.
I know him.
So that's where we are right now. I'm going to talk with her later today. She's really excited about it.
Yeah?
She really loves the piece. She loves the whole thing about women empowerment, women in leadership, sort of challenging those roles. So I've been in negotiations a little bit with her and talking to some entertainment lawyers, talking to some GMs, and just seeing what we can do. So that's
pretty damn exciting.
Big news that definitely have some interest in making this going to Broadway.
And
whether it'll happen
Candid
or
Candidate.
not. This is Candid Candidate. Actually calling it Candid Candidate 2020 edition.
Gotcha.
So
New scandals.
New scandals, that's right. And actually, her name's Kate Camerata is the producer. She's also a dramaturg. So I've been working with her a little bit on reworking the script, rework the ending of it, which is really coming out great. I'm really happy with it.
Are these major changes or just minor tweaks to the way things...
Primarily minor tweaks. Originally, I had written it so that you had the second to last scene was the presidential debate between the two candidates. And then we had the audience vote on the candidates. And so depending on the audience vote, determined what last scene you saw.
So it was a real debate then? I mean,
it's
forced, but...
Right, it's forced, but the audience got to vote, and then the last scene was sort of a ba-dum-bump of, who won and who lost, and the actual last scene was focused on the loser rather than the winner. Kind of
good.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
That's a nice twist.
That twist, you're not... So her first comment was, well, you can't do that on Broadway. You can't have an audience vote and then decide, where the last scene is. And so we're talking about how...
Wait, why can't... This is 2019, 2020.
Okay.
They get Spider-Man flying over audiences, ships coming out of water, they got helicopters landing.
Yeah, there's always, apps you could put on their phones. And
you can't have an audience vote?
We probably could have managed it.
You need me as your manager.
Well,
that's what you need here.
No. Well, again, this is where I love the pushback. So I took, and this is where I've worked with Stuart Spencer for years, and he'll give me a suggestion. I'll just totally rip apart the play and come up with something new next time. And he's just like, okay, you took my. And if I have to throw away hundreds of pages, I'm the kind of writer who doesn't mind throwing away material.
Man,
I will just to explore something new.
Gutsy.
Yeah. To explore something new, to see where it goes, see how it develops. I think that's, you got to do that. You can't just say, oh no, it's in stone, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Shepard famously said, none of his plays were finished.
Oh, really?
He said, I could take any of my play and just, rewrite the heck out of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I read that, I said, yeah, man, I feel the same way. I never feel like a play is totally finished. It's just, there's always something you can do more, or change something, or, bring out something new.
This gets back to your point earlier, though, where you at some point have to say, I cannot relook at that.
I can't read it, no, I can't stop. Yeah, it's one of those, tough things. So yeah, her pushing me to do this, and again, I agree. I said, I could have said, let me do this, let me do that, and maybe we can make it work. I said, okay, let me take her suggestion and think about what could be the final scene of the play. And again, so we have, and it's funny because, so you have John McCoy and Bob Roberts at the beginning, okay, as the two candidates who are looking to win their party's nominations for the presidency. Mm-hmm. In the end, we have Judith McCoy running with Celia Roberts, the wife of the other candidate, and we have Bob Roberts running with the husband, John McCoy. So your choices are McCoy Roberts or Roberts McCoy.
I love it. I like that.
Yeah. So it's like, is it Roberts McCoy? I mean, I wrote the damn thing. What can I say that?
Yeah.
I wrote the darn thing, and I'm like, McCoy Roberts is, that's Judith.
Trying to keep that straight.
That's straight, yeah. So I love that, it just has this soul, it's like you go into the voting booth, is it McCoy Roberts or Roberts McCoy?
Yeah.
And so she pushed me, and I said, okay, let me think about a last scene. The last scene is both couples in a hotel suite watching the results together.
Oh, I love it.
You have the two parties watching the results together. Don't you love? Yeah.
Yeah. Husband and wife.
Yeah, husband and wife. They're running against each other, and they're watching the results come in together.
That's cool.
It almost, and in some ways,
no, you don't ever find the results, do you?
No.
Good.
No.
Thanks.
And in some ways, how we talk about how, Republicans, Democrats, they're all the same. This almost like puts it into that into that picture
for sure.
Of, they're just kind of hanging out. They're waiting to see what happens, throw the dice.
That's nice.
So that was a perfect example of where I could have said, no, I like the way it is, but no, I said, okay, I'll try something new and see how it works out. And honestly, I feel like it's much better, 100% better. Yeah.
So is it a 4-person cast, or are there other characters involved?
It's a big cast. It's 10 total. 7 principals and 3 ensemble. You play a host of characters. It's some really fun ensemble pieces. Newscasters, security guard, all sorts of ex-CIA security guard, which is a really fun. Mike Perry played that at the Hat Box. Fantastic.
Now he's driving a truck.
Yeah, where are you, Mike? Come on back. But shouldn't just mention one. So Deirdre played Judith McCoy in both productions. Larry Pizza played Bob Roberts, the No BS candidate, and had Kelsey Domine play in one production Celia Roberts, and Jane Button played.
She's an all-star cast for crying out loud.
Yeah, some great people.
Wow.
Dave Affleck and Jackie
Collins.
Jackie Coffin.
I'm sorry.
Played young assistant Rachel, and Aaron Campagna played Neil, the sort of analyst.
It's a who's who.
Yeah. It was great production. So it's gonna be hard to replace those people. But we'll see what happens.
So how much work now is this?
God!
You have other things obviously that you're still working on.
Yeah.
And how much time is this consuming for you?
So let me throw out thank you, Jackie and Toby. They're stepping up to help kind of run things on New World Theater stuff, because we still have workshops and stuff going on, and different things going on. So they've kind of stepped into my management roles there. So yeah, talking to lawyers and GMs and all that kind of stuff is taking up a good bit of time, and trying to coordinate what's going to be our next steps and see where it goes.
Funny, you don't think about all that background stuff when you consider a play, and you hope it goes to Broadway or whatever in New York.
Oh God.
And you start enumerating, I need a lawyer.
Right, you need a lawyer, you need a general manager to kind of, figure out your budget, what's the theater going to cost, what's the actors going to cost, director, having, looked at, directors yet. We had some people, she has some people in mind, but gonna kind of wait to see how things shake out, in just the initial stages here. But
you have a target date?
2020.
That's
it would
pretty
be
nebulous,
good. Yeah, it'd be kind of good, if we could get it, up before the election.
Yeah.
It's kind of a hope, but it's.
Do you see it happening in that time frame? Yeah,
that's what we're working towards.
Yeah.
That's what we're working towards. See if we can get some other producers interested, as far as putting the necessary resources, aka money,
makes the world go around.
Into the well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really where we are now. It's the very early stages, but we'll see. But it's just exciting, to have somebody read your work and say, gosh, I want to see this on Broadway.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, because that's your dream. I mean, even subconsciously, don't people want to have your stuff?
What I'd like, and this is where I see New World Theater going, is being a company that helps to nurture new works, get them on their feet, and then see if we can, push them into a bigger space.
Yeah.
Like New York or something. Not that New Hampshire isn't that big.
I know.
We love New Hampshire. But what a great environment here with so much talent.
Yeah.
To be able to kind of use and be able to kind of work out things here. Before taking them to the bigger world, is a great resource, and I'm hoping that while I certainly want to help local writers and things like that, like through my master class where I had people come from all over the country and Canada, just have New Hampshire become a place where people go, oh yeah, that's a place where we can go work our plays and get them on their feet and see what's happening.
And now you become a conduit for potential things that float to the top, the good ones that start floating up.
Exactly.
They don't have to reinvent the wheel or go figure it all out.
Right.
You become the resource.
Right. We become the grease the gears, kind of thing that helps them, get past, whatever they're dealing with, and put it out there.
Are you hoping to be a start to finish kind of a house where you will, or do you want to only take things that have maybe already kind of been have hit the stage somewhere somehow and then need to be repolished?
No, we're working things, brainstorming ideas to putting it on stage.
Okay.
Kind of stuff. Again, with our collective, we kind of sit around, pitch ideas to each other,
Drink beer.
See what happens. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Get some pizza and beer, and great ideas.
A lot of ideas.
A lot of ideas. That's fantastic.
Not necessarily good ones, but a lot of them.
That's right. But this is the place to to try them out and see if what flies and what not.
Well, and then but what's really additionally nice is you have a place like the Hat Box where you can take these two, and it's very non-confrontational. In other words, it's not like you got to rent the Audi or go to the CCA and try it out.
It's a great space for this kind of thing, where the nice intimate space, right there with the audience, and you kind of just lay it out there either in workshop or full production, and see what happens, and then looking at publishing them, so I from the start when I started it, I said, well, you know what, you can start with developing it, producing it, and publishing it. And right now I've left the licensing to the playwrights. It states in the books that if you want to produce any of these works, contact the playwright.
Good.
Unless you want to produce the, that's right, there it is. Unless you want to produce the whole piece, like say somebody wants to produce all 8 plays, then I do offer the ability to seek the license through New World Theater, and then we'll negotiate with all the playwrights, right? And have them individually negotiate with all the playwrights.
Yeah.
I
love this entrepreneurial spirit. I really do.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And again, I really, I put together Unparalleled this summer. And it's a little bit pulling teeth trying to get the scripts from the playwrights. It's like, I need your script so I can edit it. And put it in. It's like, oh. But anyway, so.
Well, there's a lot of work that goes into publishing a book, by the way. It's not like cut and paste and then just stick it up there and Kindle.
No, I doggedly go through it and format it and get it, in a nice format.
Yeah.
And I love, the art of editing is actually a lot of fun.
Okay, that's sick.
Yeah, I know. But it's fun to see the beauty that ends up on the page.
I get it.
There's a certain amount of artistic presentation to the way the work lays out on the page that I just, when I get it right, it's like, I'll look at something on the page and I'm like, if I just move this dialogue, there it is, just.
So, and
as you said, it's a little sick.
No, I happen to know because I have a small book that's out there on Amazon, and I know the agonizing. If you change one point of punctuation, it can shift a whole page.
Yeah, right.
All of a sudden, the page is blank.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like, where'd that page come from?
Yeah.
And, it definitely costs something per page too.
Yes.
The more pages,
That's true.
You're cutting into your revenue.
That's correct. So these are up there on Amazon?
Yeah, on Amazon, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, those 3 works. And we're hoping, again, we've done mostly collections. I'm hoping within the next year we'll be actually putting out some full-length plays. I'm actually hoping to I like to do Candid, and I think I have some other ones that would be...
Is self-publishing again? You going to stay away from, like, the Frenches and the... drama.
French comes to me in their drama book club or whatever, they want to do it, then sure. But, I enjoy getting the work out there and not necessarily waiting for the knock on the door.
Yeah.
I think as an artist, you have to decide that you're going to put it out there and let the audience, let the public decide.
So I would like to have you back later because there's some things I want to talk to you about, like how do you market this? How are you finding an audience? Because I know that you have to put these, well, at least mine did, have to go into a category, a subcategory, or several subcategories. And I know you look at the numbers and see if anybody's buying them or how they're going.
Oh, yeah.
And I know monthly you can get a statement from Amazon. So, but I'd like to talk to you about that kind of stuff too, because you're paving the way here for a lot of people to be innovative like this. I mean, when you are doing kind of an end around a little bit of like French's or whoever else, you're taking on the giants in a way, but this is fascinating. I love this kind of stuff.
And I'm trying to do it, in a very, not necessarily putting out a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I want the quality that we produce to be known as, okay, this is
I get that.
This is worth putting in a book, and not just, oh yeah, I'll do your, whatever.
Right.
So yeah, trying to raise a certain level of quality that we'll be known for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be great. I really do hope that you start to get people who start picking these up.
Oh yeah, we are. Numbers aren't great, but they sell.
That's okay.
They do sell.
Oh yeah.
Here and there, yeah.
Well, it can reach that point, that tipping point, right? So hopefully, if enough people start seeing it and doing it, and like,
yeah.
I mean, how often do we see a group announce their season, and then the next year there's 9 other groups doing plays, kind of called from that past season, because people like it. And that,
right, yeah.
Like, so this would be a great way to get these out there. Yeah, I really do hope that happens.
Yeah, no, it's, slowly building. This is only our 5th season we're going into. And so we got published works, we've done master class, looking at going to New York potentially. It sometimes it may seem a little bit scattershot, but I think it's good not to just kind of pigeonhole into one thing. We are. Our mission is only new works, only developing, publishing new works. So that is our pigeonhole. But it allows for so much diversity in what we can do with it. And just that, and I think, that's our mission, and
Well, who's your competition?
Well, that's the thing, when I look at, why create another theater company? It's like, everyone and their brother wants to create another theater company. It's great. Right. People want to, put it out there. But I think that's a serious question to ask. What's your niche? What are you doing that nobody else is doing? And I think we've clearly settled that. Is that we're doing things that you've never heard of before because the ink is still wet.
Are you hoping to take them to other smaller theaters like the Players Ring? And
Interesting to say. I did do a production out at the Players Ring of Patrick Average's play Lab Rats a couple summers ago in their late night series out there.
Yes.
It's kind of a tough slot, but did that out there. We're actually doing Bill Iver's play Places You Go at the Bedford Off-Broadway. Is going to produce that in their 2021
in their main
spring 21
season?
Yeah,
Nice.
Spring 2021. So a year from next spring. It's kind of planned out quite a number of works ahead. So we're looking forward to that. Do we have time?
We have all time.
I just wanted to mention a few other works that we're doing that we're working on. I mentioned Scene Changes, which is in production. We got Places You Go by William Ivers at Bedford Off-Broadway. But there's 2 plays that we're tentatively hoping to get into our schedule. One is 9/12 by Walter Freeman, about the day after 9/11. Husband and wife were trying to have a birthday party for their child the day after 9/11. The great thing about it is that, so what's the action? The action is, darn it, we're going to hold on to normalcy. Screw what happened yesterday. We're going to have a normal birthday party. We're going to have a normal family happening. Who's the antagonist? 9/11. The shadow of 9/11 over this whole thing just pulls it apart. Who's going to win? Is the family going to be able to hold on to normalcy and have a birthday party for their child, or are the events of the previous day just going to overshadow it? And
This is the piece I saw at your house, right?
Yes, that's right.
Cutting from it or something.
It's developed quite a bit since then.
It was beautiful then. I thought it was powerful then.
Thank you. Exactly. So we actually did another workshop production of it at the Hatbox in February that I directed. That really went well. Had a great cast for that. So we're hoping to do that tentatively next September. And so we're pulling together a cast for that.
Is that going to be the Hatbox? Will you take that?
They're still got their pitch night. We'll see. Yeah. That's kind of our tentative we're shooting for, but let's see how it goes through the pitch process. And then the other piece, which we actually did another workshop this August of, Holy and Unruly, about Queen Elizabeth, and I'm sure you're familiar with Grace O'Malley.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I know the name.
Do you know who she is?
No.
Okay. She was a piratess, Irish pirate captain, female Irish pirate captain of the 1500s, I believe. Forgive me if I get the period wrong, but way back. Yeah.
I know that name. I don't.
I'm sure you've heard the name, Grace O'Malley. Yeah. But
so how do these two work together?
So there is a historic. It's known that Queen Elizabeth and Grace O'Malley met. It's a historic fact, that they met at some point. And that's about it. There isn't any much more about it than the fact that they had a meeting.
Yep.
So the playwright that we've been working with recently, David Beardsley, he joined our collective that last spring, wrote this play, sort of a historical fiction of what might have transpired between this Queen and Grace O'Malley in this meeting. And it's a great play of, you have on one hand the Queen who is thrust into a role of leadership. She really doesn't have much of a choice about it. And it's actually kind of walking a fine line among the men around who are just looking for something to basically pull her down and take the throne. And then you have Grace O'Malley, who has earned her role as a pirate captain, and so has totally it's not something that she is fell into. She's actually earned the right to lead her crew of pirates and whatnot. So it's an interesting dynamic between the two. And he kind of plays upon the fact that he feels like Queen Elizabeth sort of was envious of Grace in the way she had gained her power, as opposed to not, being thrust into it. So it's interesting, very interesting play, interesting even for today, again, getting back to the role of women in power, and how that played out back in the 1500s and whatnot, and and the whole palace intrigue and whatnot of that period. So it's a beautiful play that we hope to, again, tentatively looking at the spring of 2021 to produce that.
So neither of these plays have seen the light of day. Stage-wise, other than the workshops that we've done of them, yeah. So this will be their first premiere performances. But are they both small cast?
No, not terribly. No, they got half dozen or so.
Okay, well, that's not too bad.
It's not too bad. Yeah. We're not talking musical.
1776.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But some very interesting pieces that we're hoping to bring out in the coming months.
So these have been These have been through your process. Is that? Yeah.
We gosh, I'm taking up a whole lot of time here.
We're fine, brother. We're fine.
But I was just going to show you. This is the beat analysis that I did of 9/12, just part of it. I just printed out a part of the beat analysis. And again, it's just tearing apart, looking at analyzing the characters, what they want, what their actions are, who they're, what's their purpose, Sometimes you can look at a character and go, what the heck are they doing here?
I have done that. I've looked at them.
That's right. You're going, why are they taking up space on stage? So you really have to dive in and figure out, why is this character necessary? And so really tear it apart and see, all the different beats. The French beat, right? The French beat is when someone enters or exits a room.
I did not know that.
Yeah, French beat is when, I'll say it again.
Yeah.
When someone enters a room or exits a room, that's considered a French beat.
Okay.
Because something's going to change. When somebody exits a room, some action has left the room. Somebody's not pursuing something now because they've left the room. Mm-hmm. Or when they enter the room, a new action has been introduced into the scene. So I sat down and just kind of blocked out. So pages 2 to 4, we have the opening exposition. We have Sue and Dan, the husband and wife, trying to prepare for this crazy party. And so what's the dynamic there? Okay. And then on page 4, Jack arrives. Okay. Actually, we got Connie in the kitchen, so that's actually, there is somebody off stage, but that is kind of off stage. Anyway.
It's okay. Yeah.
But you got to kind of think about these things. Anyway.
Yes.
So, but then page 4, Jack arrives. Okay, so what's the point going on here? And so you got to kind of dig into that and say, okay, between pages 4 and 10, we got the Jack and Dan show, where they're just kind of chewing the beef. And this is where you dig into, are they circling around the same material over and over? Are we just hearing the same thing over? Are they introducing anything new? You know, what's going on here? You know,
Some of it has to be exposition as well, so that you're...
And that's the tricky part. How do you present exposition without it feeling like exposition?
Right.
David Beardsley has one of the best things in his Holy Unruly, where one of the characters, I think it's Queen Elizabeth, says, he's been measuring his arse for the throne for years, you know, and beautiful. So now you know about this character is angling for the throne.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't have to say, oh, you know he's been wanting the throne for years. You know,
last year he did this, and this year he did...
Right, yeah, you know, you don't go across, you know...
It encapsulated it so well. It just
encapsulated so well. I'm like, oh my God, that's beautiful, you know. Turn it into a joke, and you've given the audience all they need to know. This person's angling for the throne. And it's between two characters who... high context and low context characters. These are high context characters, meaning they know each other well. They know, you don't have to explain. There's a shorthand of dialogue that goes on between these characters because they're not explaining, you know, oh, this person wants the throne, you know, because they both know it, you know, and it's not something that's going to come up. So what a great way between two high context characters to kind of deliver that material without, I was just like, I realized, like, oh, that's beautiful. So anyway, that's the kind of thing you just dig into, you know, beat analysis.
So do you do this for every play?
Well, we just started doing this spring, and I've started doing it for my own plays, really just tearing them apart to just look at each little moment and say, gee, we've heard that before, you know, why are we covering this ground again? You know, because again, as playwrights, you can kind of write and forget, oh yeah, I really said that already, you know, and so you kind of, you know, circle around sometimes, and you got to kind of weed those out. An inconsistency came out of this was at some point, because in this Jack and Dan scene, Dan says right up front, I've been watching the news. And then at some point, Jack asks him, have you seen the news? It's like, oh. Yeah. But again, you know, as a playwright, you know, you're like, oh yeah, he said that earlier. And so by tearing it apart like this, you can find those little, you know, inconsistencies and really dig into, you know, where things aren't, you know, where the...
This is the fine-tuning, to me, of the play. This is crazy. I'm not crazy, but I mean, it's...
Well, it takes a lot of work. I mean,
this is the minutia of playwriting.
And we do different, you know, different colors for things that aren't working, so you can kind of instantly see, you know, go to the red. I did this in black and white, but the red, you know, for things that, you know, you are really kind of glaring that you got to kind of look at and attack. So, and Walter, you know, he says, you know, it's been great to have this, you know, resource to kind of go through and really see where things are working. And it helps that, you know, I did it, you know, as opposed to him, because, you know, I'm just coming at it totally cold, you know, and not totally cold, but it's...
Well, it's a neutral look at it.
It's a neutral look at it. So, that's the kind of, you know, doggedly kind of things we get into.
So those beats that you spoke about, you go through each of those as well? I mean, entrance, exit, you go through all of those?
But, I mean, that's the French beat, but
what are the beats you've got here? Are they not French?
These actually, because the way the play works, it actually kind of works out that most of them are French beats that, you know, things are kind of changing when people come in and out of the room. But like my dramaturg says, you know, is that I forget what play it is, but the wife comes in and asks the husband, "Do you love me?" It's not Fiddler. It's anyway, that's the guy. Anyway, so her action is she wants to know, "Do you love me?" She wants to answer. And of course, he's vague and kind of does doesn't quite answer it directly, but eventually answers it. Okay, so and it's like a couple of lines of dialogue. That's a beat. She wanted to know, "Do you love me?" Eventually, he gives her what she wants. That's the end of the beat. That's the event. That's the event that says, okay, she no longer has to pursue this action. And again, it's really minutiae, as you say, of what is driving this very little moment in the play. And so it doesn't have to be exits and entrances. It can be somebody is pursuing something, an action. Once that action has an event where that action is no longer being pursued because it's been resolved, that's the end of the beat. And then hopefully there's another beat, or maybe that leads to another beat. That resolution leads to another action.
This is okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting into the weeds.
No,
way into the weeds here.
Well, I'll make this like a two-parter because this is the stuff that I find really intriguing. Mm-hmm. The mechanics here of this type of thing, because I'm guessing so you've got a play is in your eyesight or in your mind is made up these series of events and moments. Mm-hmm. So you have one big event, which is the play, mm-hmm. broken down into a series of smaller events, which could in themselves contain micro events mm-hmm. that all have to be figured out, mm-hmm. started and finished, mm-hmm. so that they add onto the larger part, and the sum of those create a larger part. Mm-hmm. And so I think this is wonderful stuff for people who are thinking about playwriting.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, no one thinks about it. Most people don't think about this. Most people think, I'm just going to write a play. I'm going to write about, the burnt toast that we had this morning and the argument that created. And then, by the time we get to bed tonight, we'll have resolved it,
Arguments are the most uninteresting things between characters.
See that? Good thing we got out of bed. We learned something.
Yeah, arguments, having characters, and again, this is where novice playwrights and writers, I think, get caught up in thinking, oh, that's drama. That is where the action is. Somebody's arguing over something. What's the action is, I'm right, you're wrong. No, I'm right, you're wrong. And it just doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't pursue any long-term thing other than the fact that once you win the argument, you've proven yourself. Mm. It can also be a little bit of a soapbox that you're letting, you're setting up sort of a straw man argument to mm-hmm. kind of put across some political point or some point of view about something, and so it just becomes kind of I call it just a soapbox kind of moment. So it just doesn't really work. In fact, when I direct and then someone has sort of a contentious moment between each other and they get really excited voices and talking really, I'm like, find a way to argue or just totally, find levels. Find a level within there,
mm-hmm.
And that's what you have to do in the writing, too. You have to find levels that are not just beating the horse, mm-hmm. as it were. I often think about, you're a kid and your parents were arguing. You want to just leave the room.
Right.
It's like, it's uncomfortable. Okay, you guys are arguing? I'm out of here. So, yeah, arguments, and again, I go back to my dramaturg, Stewart, and he wrote a book called the Playwrights Guide, which is a really great resource for playwrights. Anyone interested in writing plays, get the Playwrights Guidebook, and it's, one and done, as they say. But he expresses, totally that, he'd written a play, I think he talks about in the book, and where, brother and sister were arguing, and just realized, it just wasn't working, and just, pulling apart why it didn't work, and can't recall exactly what the resolution was, but But yeah, I think it's about the brother had left and the daughter stayed home, and they got back together and they were arguing about, why did you leave? Why didn't you take me with you, or something like that. And it just didn't go anywhere.
And so, argument is not to be confused with conflict.
Right. Exactly.
Even though it is a type of conflict. But
Again,
conflict can drive a play.
Argument is almost, it's debate.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they kind of just as reduces to debate that you're having. Yeah. So yeah, it's can be less than that interesting. But,
okay. Do we hit all your points?
Oh gosh.
You got more? Dude, I got the clock. I got scissors to cut out anything we don't want.
Okay. So yeah, I just want to, I hate to just throw this in here, but you have a new writer join our group, Kira Rockwell. Just graduated from Boston University's playwriting MFA program. Really
She's young.
Yeah, young lady. Went to oh gosh, I can't remember the school in Texas she went to. Sorry, Kara. But then did her MFA at BU, and has actually a play she wrote was a finalist in the O'Neill last year.
Really?
Yeah. So
That's impressive.
yeah, nice piece she wrote. And we're hoping to maybe do one of her plays as part of a workshop production next summer.
Have you seen her work?
I have not seen it. I've read it.
Yep.
I've been reading her work. But yeah, she just recently...
Obviously, you must be impressed. You brought her on the team.
Yeah, definitely someone who, she's from Texas and has a good spirit about the process and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what I'm glad we've gotten a group of people who are just so far, we just work so well together.
Mm-hmm.
As far as being able to just really, put it out there. And
What
talk
do you
about it.
hope a new writer like her, not necessarily her,
Mhm.
but a new writer like her is going to bring to the team? What can she add? What can a new person add?
Well, new perspectives on things. She definitely comes with a very young perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Writes, definitely works for younger performers in just what she knows and what she's experienced. Actually has a fairly very adept in being able to handle a fairly large number of people within the play. That's something that is not easy to do. Either you have something going on between two characters, even to add a third in there or a fifth and try to work the dynamics around it. But she does a good job of keeping everything, sort of all the pieces in the air, and juggling the different characters in the scene and whatnot. So I've been very impressed with that. The one play that we're hoping to do a reading of, Oh, to Be Pure Again, is an interesting piece. And one thing I give her kudos for that I have a hard time with some writers is finding distinct voices for each character. I don't know if you ever read plays and you go, who's this talking? Oh, you have to keep looking at the character names to figure out who's talking.
Shakespeare.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, okay, yeah. But even in modern writers, I just find that the characters can tend to all sound the same. They all sound like the writer,
Right.
And there's no real distinction. This is one thing that one of my early mentors pressed upon us, is trying to really find your character voice. And once you find that voice, you can write that character dialogue from here to Kingdom Come, because it just writes itself.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know how the character talks, how they interact with people, it just, that is the gold that you look for, is where the characters are just writing themselves. And she has that. She does a good job of finding those voices.
So do you feel after adding her that your team is close to optimal?
It certainly becomes a challenge the more we add, as
Yeah,
far
right.
as being able to, be able to read people's stuff and interact and whatnot. And this is, I'll totally admit, this is kind of a, learn as we go kind of thing as far as how we manage this. I'd like to bring on more. I'm having ideas about doing some another master class with Stuart and seeing if we can kind of develop that into a sort of a pipeline from master class to developing the works and then into a production. Again, if the works keep going.
Right.
I mean, I think it's the kind of thing where we kind of have to decide, the benefit of or the riches. You get too many that are good. It's like, okay, now what do we do?
Well, that'd be a good problem to have.
That would be a good problem to have, and I certainly have had that problem. So that's kind of an idea that I'm toying with. Approached Stuart about doing like a 10-week master class with him online.
10 weeks?
Yeah.
Jeez. Nice.
Yeah, well, we're really
Yeah.
digging into developing a whole full-length plays. We did the master class we did with him last time was just short works. We weren't trying to focus on full lengths at that point. And we're hoping to end up with short works that we could put in a collection. Which we did.
Yep, right.
It worked out really well. But yeah, I'd like to kind of focus on full lengths next time and see what we can find. It's melting.
Yeah.
I'm one of these people who can come up with 10 ideas a day and at least.
Yeah.
And
So what we need to do is get you back in here in a few months.
Sure.
'Cause we'd like an update
Yeah.
on all of this, right? So
Yeah. See what
March,
I-
you'll be hopefully
We'll talk about that
over at the.
at some point.
Yeah, well, that'd be another. Get you
Yeah.
back in here just for that.
Yeah.
Well, we need to get you in here. If you really want to, we could get you in here and talking about playwriting.
Mhm.
And because obviously, if there's a 10-week master course that you could do,
Mhm.
and then there are people who are getting their MFAs over
Mhm.
writing.
Mhm.
So there's probably a huge amount of material we could cover.
Oh, yeah.
But you're going to be pitching at Hatbox
Yep.
and maybe other places, and so we'd like to find out how that worked out for you, and then like to see what headway you're making with New York,
Mhm.
and get you in here for that.
Yeah.
And then if you want, we could even bring in another writer or somebody from the
Yeah.
collective and chit chat about all of that stuff. Or
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah. And see if we can. This has been great. Thanks.
Oh man, it's been informative. That's why
Yeah.
I like these kind.
Good.
I know they seem like they're wild and there's no road to them or path. But,
Yeah. You can kind of get.
But I only have so much time to spend with people.
Lost in the weeds.
I
and you
know,
just
but
kinda
there's so much stuff to call
there
so
is,
many
there
times.
is, it's.
And if I don't see someone for ages,
Yeah. Well,
it's like two friends
You
over a
gotta-
cup of coffee.
You got to get out.
I know. Well, I'll wait to see if my contract for New York comes through.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be looking in the mail. So
All right.
we can stay in touch that way.
All right. Sounds
you, my
great.
friend.
Thank
Thanks.
you.